Hey there, I'm Mr. Lee. I'm the art teacher, and I'm going to teach you how to draw a cylinder. Well, not just any cylinder. I mean, it'd be pretty boring just to draw a cylinder. I'm going to teach you how to draw a cylinder that's kind of like pointing towards you like this. And I'm going to teach you how to turn it into a rocket ship because that'll be pretty fun to draw. The final product will probably look a little something like this. Now, along the way, we'll learn a little bit about a few different art supplies like these guys. So let's jump in. Let's draw a rocket ship, kind of pointing towards you. So I'm going to start with just a plain old #2 pencil. You might also see it says HB on it because it's also called an HB pencil. And I'm going to draw 3 lines, and I'm going to use my whole arm to draw these lines. 1, 2, 3. Now, when I say whole arm, what I mean is there's no movement at the wrist, no movement at the fingers. Just draw with your whole arm. And when you're sketching longer lines, that's what you should strive to do. I'm going to try to keep this line about in the middle of these other 2 lines. So the spacing should be about even. If you need to sketch a little bit to move your lines around, do that. Okay, now once you have 3 lines that are evenly spaced, I'm actually going to make mine a little darker just so they show up a little better on the camera for you. All right, cool. Because I filmed like this entire video and then I went back and looked at it and you couldn't see the lines because they were too light. But I think this should be good. Now then, I'm going to draw lines that now go across this middle line. And notice that these are perpendicular to the middle line. And it's important to make sure these are perpendicular, not slanted, or your rocket might end up looking like penne pasta, which is kind of angled. So try to really keep these lines perpendicular to the middle line. Now, upon these lines, we're going to put an oval, a big fat oval. In fact, an oval that's like almost a circle. It's a really, really fat oval. I think I've made my point. It's a really wide oval. Now, if you put a skinny oval in, then your rocket is going to look more like a deodorant stick instead of a cylinder, kind of like this. Yeah, so we don't want penne pasta. We don't want deodorant. Or maybe we do want those things. I don't know. But I want my rocket to be based off like a cylinder. So I'm going to have big fat ovals and really curvy lines here and here. So big big circular ovals. Now, if you erase this letter D right here, see the letter D right there? Then you'll be able to see that what you've drawn is a cylinder that's pointing at you. Not all the way at you, but almost at you. Now let's turn it into a rocket. I'm going to pick a line, pick a point somewhere along this line here. If I need to, I'll make it a little further here. Cool. And then I'm going to connect it to the end of my oval. And when I do this, that's just a nice natural drawing movement here because I don't know if you can see, but I'm bending my hand at the wrist. And that's just like a natural movement. This, is not a natural movement. See, it's like, I got to push, and that's not natural. So what I'm going to do instead, rotate my paper until it is lined up with that natural drawing motion at the wrist. And I feel like I just have more control. You can instantly become a better drawer just by paying attention to your natural drawing motions and rotating your arm or rotating the paper until your drawing lines up with it. All right, so now I can kind of sketch a little bit more if I need to. I think this actually might be a little bit curvy, and then I can kind of sketch this one a little bit more. So I'm trying to make my 2 curves kind of match each other. So rotating the paper can help me do that. This is why we sketch, and this is why we have erasers, in case the lines you put down, in case you don't like them. So I'm going to scoot this a little bit away. Cool. So I've kind of kept chiseling away and refining and so forth until I've got that the way I like it, kind of symmetrical. Now I'm going to get rid of this D, get rid of this line, and I've got like a foreshortened rocket. Now, of course, it needs fins, so I'm going to add a couple of fins here, little triangles. Do one on the other side. And then to help me draw like a fin in the middle, I'm actually going to connect these two with like half of an oval. Sometimes I do like the whole oval just to help me get this curve right. So I've got like the same curve here. I just put it here between the ovals, and I can use that to help figure out where this fin should go. Because just as these two fins start along this curve, this third fin should also start along this curve, which pushes it down here. Now it really looks like a rocket. I'm going to now add the exhaust, and the exhaust is, you should try to draw that also between these two lines. So I'm going to keep all my cool exhaust lines in between those two original lines. And you can do the exhaust any way you want. You could even write the word zoom inside of there if you wanted to, but just try to keep it in between those two lines. And it'll really make the rockets just kind of like coming towards you, but not all the way towards you, because then it would just be like a circle if it's coming right towards you. All right, now to add details, you can continue to add these like super curvy lines, and if along the side of the rocket, the fuselage, I believe is what this part's called. I'm not entirely sure, and I definitely don't think you say it fuselage, but I guess you can if you want. And you can also add lines which all continue to go to the vanishing point, just like the original three lines. So I had a few there. If you add any details that kind of wrap around the rocket, like maybe some rivets or something like that, then try to space them so that the spacing between them gets smaller as it kind of wraps around. So like this distance, well, this distance should be smaller than that distance, and this distance should be smaller than that, and this distance should be smaller than that. And it'll kind of really look like the details are kind of wrapping around the rocket. Now, maybe you can add a few more details in here. It's up to you. You can even add like a little dome up here, and I'll take the same kind of curve and add that to the dome. Maybe make your rocket look like, maybe the fins could be like all kinds of different things, and add little stripes, and just kind of have fun with it. Cool. Oh, and you'll add whatever that thing is. Sometimes you see that on the end of like those old-timey spaceship rockets. Cool. And nice. Now, once you get all the details just the way you like them, and you want to like finish the picture with nice deep heavy lines, you might want to lighten your sketch lines first, and that's when the kneaded eraser can come in handy. So this is not like a regular eraser. Like a regular eraser, you rub, right? But this one you actually kind of push down. So if I wanted to make this little thing here lighter, I would take my kneaded eraser and push down onto it, and I just made it lighter because the graphite, bang, just went into that. So you can push down. You can also use your kneaded eraser like this, and you can just lighten the whole picture just by rubbing your kneaded eraser on it. Kneaded eraser is also a lot of fun just to kind of sculpt with. You can, it's just perfect for sculpting. I'm not going to lighten too much just because I want you to still be able to see it in the video. But once you've lightened all the lines, now you can go back in with this pencil to kind of beef things up. Now, this pencil says 4B, and here's the idea. I don't know if you've been into the art supply store and looked in like the pencil section, but there's like a ton of pencils and they all kind of look the same. So here's the difference. Pencils that you see with the letter B on it, that means, well, these are very soft pencils. I'm trying to get it so you can see. Well, trust me, it says B. There we go. So these are soft pencils, and you can pretend that the B stands for baby if it helps you remember, like because babies are soft, right? So soft leaded pencils, the graphite just oozes off, kind of like one of those yogurt things in a little Slurpee straw, the Go-Gurts or whatever. They're soft, right? So it just oozes off the pencil like a soft Go-Gurt. Cool. And these are great for like finishing a picture with really dark lines, but it's really hard to erase this stuff with the soft leaded pencil. They also make pencils that have the letter H on them. These, unlike the B, baby soft, H pencils have really hard lead. And of course, it's not really lead, it's graphite and clay. But anyways, this hard lead makes a lot lighter marks. So this is good for sketching, and an erase is really easy. I don't like the hard lead pencils just because sometimes I'll make little dents in the paper because the lead is so hard. Incidentally, that other pencil you have, the number 2 pencil, you might notice it says HB. because it's like halfway between the hard and the soft leads. So it's kind of like an all-purpose drawing pencil. I like to use it for sketching because it's light enough to erase, but it's not so light, or it's not so hard that it'll dent the paper. Anyways, so I'm going to now finish the picture, and I invite you to finish your picture using your 4B pencil. As you work, try to vary your line weight. And what I mean by that is have some lines heavy and some lines thin. So for example, the outside lines are like heavier than the inside lines, right? It's like the outlines are heavier than the details. And then also you can use heavier lines to show distance. For example, the stuff that's up here is, well, like look at the exhaust. I use like a heavy line for the exhaust here, but as the exhaust gets further and further away, I use thinner and thinner lines. And like, so it really just kind of makes it feel more distance if you do that. So anyways, I'm going to add details to this. I'm sure I'll speed this part of the video up for you. Here I go. Okay, now I'm done beefing up my lines, and it's time to shade. So when you're shading, because cylinders have a curved surface, that means you're going to have a gradual change in value. So I'm just going to press hard here. But then as I go, I'll use less and less pressure as I go up to create like just very gradual change in value. Value is how dark or light something is. And then it looks a little bit more rounded. Maybe the very end of it is like a darker surface overall, so I'll make this whole thing down at the very end darker, but I'll still make it fade from dark to light gradually. But the whole thing is just overall darker. As far as the cone part, you almost want to think of it as a bunch of lines that are along here, which connect to there, and it kind of like a curve like this. So as you shade, you want to kind of follow that general pattern. So I'll kind of get darker here. So it's kind of like the moon, right? It's kind of fat and then goes to skinny. Then I'll make this a little bit lighter. Go from skinny to fat and so forth. Now to help you with your blending or with your shading, I included a blending stump, or you should have gotten a blending stump. And this is just rolled up paper. But the rolled up paper is great for, well, for blending the graphite. And it's really, there's nothing magical. It's just like if you use your finger to blend it, except it doesn't make your finger dirty. Plus it doesn't get finger oils in your paper, which can be a big deal if you become like a fancy pencil artist that you need to preserve these things for generations. But anyways, notice that when you use a blending stump, not only does it make things smoother, but it also will make things a little bit darker. So it'll probably make it like one shade, one value darker than it was before. So heads up with that. You can even blend areas that you didn't even shade just because once your blending stump gets a little dirty, it's just kind of its own little thing. So the blending stumps are a lot of fun. And yeah, I hope that your rocket turned out cool. I think I'm just about done with mine. I made a little bit of business there. Ooh, like a cool highlight inside of the little glass thing there. And then if you want, you can add additional like motion lines and everything, also going to that vanishing point. And then it really looks like it's taken off. You can even add other rockets going to the same vanishing point. Just follow all the same steps. I'm doing a rush job here. And it'll look like there's like a whole fleet of things coming out from, I don't know, planet, somebody's head. Yeah, I got rockets coming out of my mouth. All right, so I hope that was helpful for you. And you can take all these things we learned about foreshortened rockets and apply it to other foreshortened cylinders, like, for example, arms. Can you see the whole same concept, the big curves and everything like that? Pencils, right? So, so cylinders are all around us, and they're oftentimes pointed like this. And so you can take all this stuff and use it for that too, and have fun. And thanks for watching. All right, bye-bye.